Dr. Rachel Stone had broken every rule to get here. The lake sat in front of her like a mirror made of midnight, perfectly still, perfectly wrong. Her team was setting up equipment 200 meters back, exactly where protocol said they should be. But Rachel couldn't stop staring at the water. 300 years. That's how long the Galactic Council had kept humans away from this place. They called it a quarantine zone. A danger to all life. But Rachel had spent 15 years studying the architects, that mysterious civilization that vanished before the council even existed. And she knew what quarantine really meant. It meant they were hiding something. The other species in the galaxy treated humans like children. Too young, too reckless, too curious for our own good. Maybe they were right about the curious part. Rachel had requested this expedition 17 times before they finally approved it. Even then, they'd attached so many restrictions she could barely do her job. But now, kneeling at the water's edge, she saw something that made her heart race. Shapes moving beneath the surface. Not fish or plants. Geometric patterns, perfectly symmetrical, pulsing with a soft blue glow. This wasn't a natural lake. This was technology. Her hand moved before her brain could stop it. Just one touch. Just to confirm what her instruments were already telling her. The water didn't feel like water. It felt solid and liquid at the same time, like touching a memory or a thought given form. The sensation shot up her arm, not painful exactly, but overwhelming. Wrung in a way that made every nerve in her body scream. Then the lake exploded. Not with fire or force, but with light. A shockwave of pure white brilliance that expanded across the entire surface, racing from where her fingers touched to the far shore kilometers away. Rachel tried to pull back, but her hand wouldn't move. Something was holding her there. Silver lines appeared on her skin. Thin as spider silk at first, then thicker, spreading from her fingertips up her wrist like circuitry growing beneath her flesh. They didn't hurt, but they felt alien. Wrong. Like her body was being rewritten in a language she didn't understand. Behind her, someone was shouting her name. Her assistant probably, or maybe the security officer assigned to keep her from doing exactly what she'd just done. But their voices sounded distant, like they were calling to her from another room. The voice that spoke next was not distant at all. It came from inside her. Not in her ears but deeper, resonating in her chest, her spine, every cell of her body vibrating with words that shouldn't exist. The language was ancient, older than any civilization in the current galaxy. But somehow Rachel understood every syllable. At last. The carrier has come. Rachel's breath caught. The silver lines were spreading faster now, crawling up her forearm toward her elbow. They looked like circuitry, but organic somehow. Alive. You bear the sequence that binds 3 realms. 3 realms? Rachel's mind raced through everything she knew about the architects. They'd disappeared billions of years ago, leaving behind only fragments. Ruins on dead worlds. Technology nobody could understand. And warnings. So many warnings about places like this lake. The harvest begins in 7 cycles. 7 cycles. 7 days. The architects used a 7-day count in their calendars. Rachel had written 3 papers on it. The voice paused, and in that silence Rachel felt weight. Not physical weight, but something heavier. Like the universe itself was pressing down on her shoulders, expecting something. Demanding something. You must choose which survives. The words hung in the air. Rachel's team reached her, hands grabbing her shoulders, trying to pull her back from the water. But she couldn't move. The silver filaments had reached her shoulder now, spreading across her skin like frost on a window. Choose wisely, human. Then it was gone. The light faded. The voice vanished. Rachel collapsed backward into the arms of her team, gasping for air she didn't realize she'd been holding. They were all talking at once, asking if she was okay, what happened, what did she see. But Rachel couldn't answer. She was staring at her arm, at the silver patterns now permanently etched beneath her skin. They pulsed with a faint light, matching the rhythm of her heartbeat. The Galactic Council had been afraid of this place. Now Rachel understood why. The lake hadn't just marked her. It had chosen her for something. Something involving 3 realms, whatever that meant. Something that required a choice. And she had 7 days to figure out what that choice was. Her hand trembled as she held it up to the fading daylight. The silver lines seemed to glow brighter in the shadows. Beautiful and terrifying at the same time. What had she just done? Rachel woke up in the medical bay 3 days later. At least, they told her it was 3 days. It felt like she'd lived 1,000 lifetimes in that time. The silver lines had spread. What started on her hand now covered her entire right arm, creeping across her shoulder and onto her chest. The medical team had tried everything to stop it. Cutting didn't work. The filaments grew back instantly. Freezing them did nothing. Even attempting to surgically remove a section just caused them to multiply faster. Dr. Vincent Hayes, the expedition's chief medical officer, sat beside her bed looking exhausted. "It's not killing you," he said quietly. "Your vitals are actually improving. Heart rate steady, brain activity elevated but stable. If anything, you're healthier than before." "Then what is it doing?" Rachel asked. Her voice came out hoarse. Vincent hesitated. "Honestly? We think it's interfacing with your nervous system. Reading it. Maybe writing to it too." That's when the vision started. At first, Rachel thought she was hallucinating. Images flashing through her mind too fast to process. Cities that floated in clouds of gas. Beings made of pure light having conversations without words. A sun rising in the west and setting in the east, time flowing backward like a river reversed. But these weren't random dreams. They were memories. Not hers, but someone else's. Something else's. The architect's. Over the next hours, the information came in waves. Each wave brought understanding, pieces of a puzzle assembling themselves in her consciousness. And the picture they formed was terrifying. The architects hadn't just disappeared. They'd known their universe was dying. Some kind of fundamental collapse at the quantum level, spreading like cancer through the fabric of reality itself. They couldn't stop it. Nobody could. But they were brilliant enough to try something desperate. They created 3 experimental realities. 3 separate universes, each one a sanctuary, each one different from the others. Earth's reality was one of them. The physical universe Rachel knew, where matter existed and time flowed forward. Where humanity had evolved and built civilizations and reached for the stars. The second reality was pure energy. No physical matter at all. Consciousness existed there as living light, billions of minds flowing together and apart like water. They transcended bodies entirely, living as thought itself. The third reality ran backward. Time flowed from future to past. Beings there experienced death before birth, saw consequences before causes. They could prevent tragedies before they happened because they remembered the future. 3 experimental universes. 3 different approaches to existence. The architects had created them all as backup plans, hoping at least one would survive when their original universe finally collapsed. Rachel sat up in bed, her head spinning with the implications. "The lake," she whispered. "It's not really a lake at all." Vincent leaned forward. "What do you mean?" "It's a seed ship. A decision engine." The words came from somewhere beyond her own knowledge, uploaded directly into her brain by the filaments. The architects built it to monitor all 3 realities. And when the time came, to choose which one would receive their final gift. What gift? Permanent stability. The energy needed to make one reality sustainable forever. Rachel looked at her marked arm. The other 2 would be left to unravel. Slowly at first, giving inhabitants time to evacuate if they could. But eventually, they'd cease to exist. The room went silent. Vincent's face had gone pale. "That's why the Galactic Council forbade this place," Rachel continued, the pieces falling together. "They found ancient architect texts. They know about the 3 realities. They've been trying to access the decision engine for centuries. But why keep humanity away specifically?" Rachel laughed bitterly. "Because we're the youngest species in the council. The least politically powerful. They want one of the elder species to make the choice. Someone who'll choose this reality, obviously. Our reality. The one where the council exists. But the lake chose you instead." "Yeah." Rachel stared at the silver patterns crawling across her skin. "It chose human DNA. Human neurology. I don't know why, but it recognized something in me. In us." Vincent stood up, pacing. "So what happens now?" The voice said 7 cycles. 7 days. Rachel closed her eyes, and immediately visions flooded back. She could see all 3 realities now, playing out simultaneously in her mind. In 4 more days, the decision becomes permanent. The lake will force me to choose. Choose what? Which reality survives? Exactly. Vincent stopped pacing. "Rachel, that's not a choice anyone should have to make. That's genocide on a scale we can't even imagine. 2 entire universes, countless civilizations, trillions of beings." "I know." Rachel's voice was barely a whisper. She could feel them now. The other realities pressing against her consciousness. In one, energy beings danced through nebulas, sharing thoughts across light years. In another, civilizations that saw every possible future worked backward through time to create better pasts. And here, in her reality, humanity had just learned to touch the stars. How could anyone choose? How could the weight of 3 universes rest on one person's shoulders? But the architects had made their decision. They built the lake. They programmed it to find a carrier. And somehow, impossibly, it had chosen her. Rachel looked down at her arm again. The silver filaments pulsed steadily, counting down to a choice she couldn't imagine making. 4 days left. By day 5, Rachel could barely tell where she ended and the other realities began. The silver filaments had spread across most of her upper body now, creating patterns that looked almost beautiful when they caught the light. But beauty wasn't the problem. The problem was that her mind was living in 3 places at once. She'd be eating breakfast and suddenly taste colors instead of food. She'd walk down a corridor and feel time flowing backward, her footsteps appearing before she took them. She'd close her eyes and see thoughts dancing like fireflies, conscious minds communicating in pure energy. The medical team wanted to sedate her. Keep her stable until they figured out what to do. But Rachel refused. Something was coming. She could feel it building like static before a lightning strike. That's when they arrived. The first one appeared in her quarantine room at 0300 hours. Rachel was alone, staring at the ceiling, when the air simply folded open. No door, no portal effect, just reality bending sideways and suddenly someone was standing there. He looked human. Tall, maybe 40 years old, wearing clothes that seemed normal until you looked closely and realized they were flowing backward through their own timeline. Wrinkles smoothing out, stains disappearing, fabric becoming newer with each passing second. "My name is Andrew Venn," he said. His voice echoed strangely, like hearing someone speak and unsay their words simultaneously. "I'm from the 3rd reality. The one you call the backward universe." Rachel sat up slowly. "You're not really here, are you?" "I'm as here as you are there." He smiled, but it was a sad smile. The kind you wear when you already know how a conversation ends. "The filaments let us communicate across realities. I'm speaking to you from my death. Tomorrow I'll be younger. Yesterday I was older. My entire species experiences existence this way. Why are you here? To ask you to save us." Andrew moved to the window, looking out at stars that probably didn't exist in his reality. "We've perfected existence, Rachel. We see every tragedy before it happens. Wars that would kill billions, we prevent them when they're just angry thoughts. Diseases that would spread, we cure them before they are created. Children who would suffer, we save them before they are born." Rachel felt a chill. "You remember the future. We experience it first. Then we live backward, correcting mistakes before they happen." He turned to her, his eyes pleading. "Don't you see? We've eliminated suffering. No other civilization can say that. We deserve to survive." Before Rachel could answer, the air folded again. This time nothing appeared. Instead, the room filled with light. Not harsh fluorescent light, but warm illumination that seemed alive somehow. It pulsed and swirled, forming patterns that Rachel's brain interpreted as a presence. A voice spoke. Not from any direction, but from the light itself. "We are the choir." The voice was harmony, thousands of tones blending perfectly. "We are consciousness freed from flesh. We are thought without the prison of matter." The light coalesced slightly, not quite taking form but suggesting one. "Physical existence is suffering, Rachel Stone. Hunger, pain, disease, death. We transcended all of it. We are pure mind, unlimited by bodies that break and decay. We share thoughts at the speed of light across galaxies. We've achieved what every philosopher dreams of, pure enlightenment." Rachel's head throbbed. 2 realities pressing against her mind, both making their case. Both convinced they deserved to exist. "You want me to choose you," she said to the light. "We are the highest form of life. The ultimate evolution. Choose us, and consciousness itself continues in its perfected state." The light faded. Andrew still stood by the window, watching her with eyes that had already seen her choice. But he said nothing more. Then the door to her room opened. An actual door, physical and real. Commander Tyler Morgan stepped through, and Rachel had never been more grateful to see another human being. Tyler was Earth Defense, 42 years old, with gray starting at his temples and scars on his hands from actual combat. He looked tired. More than tired. Exhausted in a way that went bone deep. "Let me guess," Rachel said. You're here to make your case too. No. Tyler pulled up a chair and sat down heavily. I'm here because those two already did, and you need to hear from someone who lives in the same reality as you. So you want me to choose Earth's universe? Of course I do. Tyler ran his hand through his hair. But I'm not going to dress it up with philosophy. I'm not going to tell you we're more evolved or more deserving or that we've perfected anything. Humans are messy. We make mistakes. We hurt each other. We're still figuring out how to not destroy ourselves. He leaned forward. But this is our home, Rachel. Humanity, all the species we know, everything we've built and dreamed and hoped for. It's all here, in this reality. If you choose one of the others, it all ends. Not immediately, but eventually. The stars will stop shining. Matter will decay. Everyone we've ever known, everyone who'll ever be born, they all cease to exist. Rachel felt tears on her cheeks. She hadn't realized she was crying. I can't make this choice, she whispered. Tyler reached out and squeezed her hand. The one without the silver filaments. I know. But someone has to. The three ambassadors had made their cases. Energy beings who'd transcended physical limits. Time-reversed people who'd eliminated suffering. And humanity, messy and imperfect, fighting to survive in a universe that didn't care. Then alarms started blaring throughout the facility. Tyler's communicator crackled to life. Commander, we've got incoming. Galactic Council fleet just dropped out of hyperspace. They're demanding we surrender Dr. Stone immediately. Rachel's blood went cold. The Council wasn't coming to help. They were coming to take the choice away from her. And they were bringing an entire fleet to do it. Tyler didn't wait for orders. He grabbed Rachel's arm and pulled her toward the door. We're leaving. Now. Wait, I can't just. Yes, you can. Tyler was already moving, pulling her down the corridor at a run. The Council's been planning this for centuries. They've got weapons we've never seen before. Architect technology they've been reverse engineering in secret. If they get you, they'll cut those filaments out of you and make the choice themselves. Rachel's mind reeled. Behind them, she could hear shouting, boots pounding on metal floors. The facility was in chaos. Through a window, she caught a glimpse of the sky. Ships. Dozens of them, descending through the atmosphere like falling stars. They reached the hangar bay where a small transport ship waited. Its engines were already running, pilot visible through the cockpit window. Captain Lisa Chen, one of the few Earth defense officers who'd actually seen combat against pirates in the outer systems. Get in. Lisa shouted over the engine roar. We've got maybe 2 minutes before they lock down all air traffic. Rachel and Tyler scrambled aboard. The ship lifted off before the cargo door even fully closed. Through the closing gap, Rachel saw Council soldiers pouring into the hangar, weapons raised. Energy blasts lit up the space behind them, but Lisa had already punched the throttles. They shot out of the hangar into open sky. Rachel was thrown against the wall as Lisa banked hard left, then right, then into a climb so steep Rachel's stomach dropped into her feet. They're tracking us, Lisa called back. 3 pursuit ships on our tail. Hold on. The transport wasn't built for combat. It was a research vessel, designed to carry equipment and personnel between survey sites. But Lisa flew it like a fighter, diving into canyons and skimming over ridgelines so close Rachel could see individual rocks passing beneath them. Tyler strapped Rachel into a crash seat. You okay? Define okay. Rachel's whole body was shaking. The silver filaments on her skin were pulsing faster now, brighter, like they knew danger was close. Tyler, even if we get away, where are we going? They'll find us eventually. We've got safe houses. Hidden facilities the Council doesn't know about. Tyler checked a datapad, his face grim. At least we thought they didn't know. But if they've been preparing for this as long as you think. An explosion rocked the ship. Warning lights flashed red across every surface. They're firing on us. Lisa's voice was tight with concentration. These aren't warning shots. They're trying to shoot us down. Rachel's blood ran cold. They'd rather kill me than let me make the choice. They'd rather take you dead than let you choose wrong, Tyler corrected. The filaments might still be usable even if you're. Look, we're not letting that happen. Lisa threw the transport into a dive that made Rachel's vision go gray at the edges. They plunged into a narrow ravine, walls of rock screaming past on either side. Behind them, one of the pursuit ships couldn't make the turn. Rachel watched through the rear monitor as it clipped a canyon wall and exploded in a fireball. 2 ships left. But the ravine was widening, giving them less cover. I've got an idea, Lisa said. But you're both going to hate it. Do it, Tyler replied without hesitation. Lisa angled the transport toward a massive waterfall ahead. Not around it. Toward it. Rachel realized what she was planning a second before they hit. The world became water and sound and chaos. The transport plunged through the falling water into a cave behind it. Lisa killed the engines immediately, and they hung there in the darkness, water thundering past the opening. Through the waterfall, Rachel could see the distorted shapes of the two pursuit ships hovering outside. Searching. Waiting. Nobody breathed. After what felt like hours but was probably only minutes, the ships moved on. The sound of their engines faded into the distance. Lisa restarted their engines with the lowest power setting possible. We can't stay here. They'll do a grid search. We need to move. They emerged from behind the waterfall carefully, staying low to the ground, using terrain to mask their heat signature. For the next 6 hours, they played cat and mouse across the entire continent. Every time they thought they'd lost their pursuers, new ships would appear on sensors. Rachel spent those hours in a strange state between panic and meditation. The filaments kept feeding her information, showing her visions of all three realities. She saw the choir's energy being scattered across their universe, billions of individual minds that could be snuffed out if she chose wrong. She saw Andrew Venn's people living their backward lives, children growing younger until they were born, old people becoming infants. And she saw Earth, saw humanity spreading across the stars, so young and fragile and determined. 3 universes. Trillions of lives. And only 2 days left to choose. That's when the breakthrough came. Not from Tyler or Lisa, but from Rachel herself. They'd landed in a cave system on the northern continent, using the rock to hide their energy signature. Rachel sat in the cargo hold, staring at her arms. The silver filaments covered both of them now, spreading across her torso, creeping up her neck. The architects built a decision engine, she said suddenly. Tyler looked up from cleaning his weapon. Yeah. The lake. No, listen. Rachel stood up, her mind racing. They built it during their civilization's collapse. They were dying. Resources were limited. They created 3 realities as backup plans, but they could only stabilize one. That was their situation. Scarcity. Not enough to save everyone. Okay. But what if that's not actually true anymore? Rachel held up her marked arms. These filaments, they're interfacing with the engine. Showing me how it works. The architects programmed it to ration power, to allocate limited resources. But they're dead. Their universe is gone. The engine is running on automatic, following protocols from a civilization that no longer exists. Tyler's eyes widened. You're saying the resources aren't actually limited? I'm saying the engine was built with assumptions that might not apply anymore. The architects couldn't imagine abundance because they were experiencing scarcity. Rachel's heart pounded. But what if I could override the protocols? What if there's enough power to stabilize all 3 realities? That's impossible. The architects would have done it themselves if it was possible. The architects were dying. They were desperate. They built what they could with what they had. Rachel looked at Tyler with sudden fierce certainty. But I'm human. And humans? We don't accept impossible. Lisa's voice cracked over the intercom. Guys? We've got company. Council ships, lots of them, converging on our position. They must have triangulated our location. Tyler grabbed his weapon. How long? Minutes. Maybe less. Rachel took a deep breath. The silver filaments pulsed with her heartbeat. Then I guess we're out of time. Get me back to the lake. Rachel, they'll be waiting for us there. I know. She smiled. That's why we're going. The lake looked exactly the same as it had 7 days ago. Black water reflecting purple clouds, perfectly still, perfectly wrong. Except now it was surrounded by an army. Council ships formed a perimeter around the entire area. Soldiers lined the shore, weapons trained on the sky. They knew Rachel was coming. They'd been waiting. Lisa brought the transport in low and fast, skimming treetops until the last possible moment. This is suicide, she said flatly. Probably, Rachel agreed. Drop me at the water's edge and get out of here. Not happening, Tyler said. He'd armed himself with everything the transport carried. You're not doing this alone. Rachel wanted to argue, but there wasn't time. Lisa brought the transport screaming over the final ridge, and suddenly they were above the lake. Energy blasts filled the air around them. The ship's shields flared and died. Warning alarms screamed. Going down. Lisa wrestled with the controls, fighting to keep them from turning into a fireball. They hit the ground hard, skidding across stone and dirt, tearing up earth before finally slamming to a stop 20 meters from the water. Rachel's head rang. Blood trickled from a cut above her eye. Tyler was already up, firing out the cargo door at advancing soldiers. But there were too many. Way too many. Then Rachel saw him. Ambassador Terrence, the council's representative. He stood near the water's edge, flanked by guards, looking almost disappointed. "Dr. Stone," he called out. "This doesn't have to end badly. Surrender yourself. Let us extract the interface properly. We'll make the correct choice." Rachel stumbled out of the crash transport, her legs shaky but holding. The silver filaments covered most of her body now, visible even through her clothes. They pulsed with light, brighter than they'd ever been. "The correct choice," she repeated. "You mean your reality? The one where the council exists? The one where civilization has flourished for millions of years? Where order and peace have been maintained?" Terrence gestured at the soldiers. "We've sacrificed much to reach this moment. We won't let a human child playing with forces she doesn't understand destroy everything." Behind Rachel, Tyler kept firing. But for every soldier he forced back, two more appeared. They were being overwhelmed. Rachel didn't run. She walked toward the water. "Stop her!" Terrence shouted. Energy blasts tore through the air. One caught Rachel's shoulder, spinning her around. Pain exploded through her body, white-hot and overwhelming. She fell to her knees. But the filaments reacted. They spread across the wound, sealing it, healing it in seconds. Rachel looked down at her shoulder in shock. The blast had burned through her clothes, but her skin was unmarked. The silver patterns had protected her. She stood up and kept walking. More blasts came. The filaments deflected them, absorbed them, turned their energy into light that fed back into Rachel's body. She could feel the lake calling to her now. Feel the ancient intelligence inside it recognizing its chosen carrier. Her hand touched the water. The world exploded into vision. Not sight exactly, but pure information flooding directly into her brain. She saw the decision engine's code, billions of lines of programming written in mathematics that predated galaxies. And there, buried deep in the core protocols, she found it. The scarcity assumption. The rule that said only one reality could be saved. The architects had programmed it that way because they were dying. Their universe was collapsing around them, resources failing, time running out. They'd built the engine to make an impossible choice because they believed that was the only option. But Rachel could see beyond their assumptions. The power source wasn't depleted. It was running on conservation mode, rationing energy that didn't need rationing. The architects had set it that way out of fear, out of desperation, out of the trauma of watching their universe die. Rachel placed both hands into the water and spoke directly to the ancient intelligence. "You were built by people who were drowning. They taught you scarcity because that's all they knew. But your creators are gone. Their fear doesn't have to be yours." The lake responded. Not with words, but with resistance. The programming fought back, following its core directives. One choice. One reality. That was the rule. "Rules can change," Rachel said. She pushed deeper into the code, using the filaments as an interface. Her human neurology became the bridge between ancient programming and new possibility. "I'm not choosing one. I'm choosing all three." The resistance intensified. The lake's surface began to churn. Terrence was shouting something, but Rachel couldn't hear him over the roaring in her ears. She found the conservation protocols and ripped them out. The engine's full power activated instantly, and Rachel screamed as it channeled through her body. It felt like holding lightning, like every nerve was on fire. The silver filaments blazed white-hot. But she held on. Instead of allocating power to one reality, she forced the engine to redistribute itself. The seed ship, the entire lake, everything within 100 kilometers began to convert. Not into a weapon or a shield, but into a bridge. A permanent connection point between all three realities, allowing energy and resources to flow between them as needed. The cost was immediate and terrible. The land around the lake began to tear itself apart. Reality itself was scarring, creating a wound that would never fully heal. The area became unstable, dangerous, a place where the laws of physics couldn't quite decide which universe's rules to follow. And Rachel became the anchor. The living interface holding three realities together. Her consciousness split across all three existences simultaneously. She could feel herself in the energy realm, in the backward universe, in the physical world all at once. The light faded. Rachel stood at the center of what used to be a lake. Now it was something else. A gateway, swirling with colors that shouldn't exist. Behind her, the council soldiers had fallen back, staring in shock. Tyler limped toward her. "Rachel? You okay?" She turned to look at him, and her smile existed in 3 different states of being. "I'm carrying the fate of 3 worlds," she said. Her voice echoed across realities. The architects thought that was a burden. The ancient intelligence spoke one last time, confusion evident in its tone. "Impossible. Illogical. Inefficient." Rachel laughed. It felt good to laugh. "Yeah, well. Welcome to humanity. We specialize in impossible." Terrence approached slowly, his face pale. "What have you done?" "Changed the rules," Rachel said simply. "All 3 realities are stabilizing. They'll share resources through this gateway. It's not perfect. This area is permanently scarred. And I can never leave. I'm the bridge now, experiencing all 3 universes at once." She looked at the swirling gateway, at the impossible thing she'd created. "But nobody has to die. No reality has to end. Isn't that worth it?" Tyler reached out, hesitated, then took her hand. The one that was still partly human. "You did it," he said quietly. "We did it," Rachel corrected. "Humans don't give up. We don't accept impossible choices. We find another way." And there, at the intersection of 3 universes, Rachel Stone began the work of teaching 3 different forms of existence how to coexist. The architects had built an engine of death. Humanity had turned it into a bridge of life. That's what humans do best.